Namaste, friends. Welcome to the 29th class of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying chapter 3 of the Gita. And the verses that we covered in the last class, in those verses, Krishna was saying to Arjuna that I have nothing to gain from these worlds, and yet I continue to be fully active and involved in all the activities of the world. Because if I did not work, then man would follow suit, and then man would go into ruination, and there would be admixture of qualities, and there will be confusion in this world. Therefore, I continue to be fully involved with this world. And then he goes on to say that an ignorant person who does not know of his real nature, he works with his selfish desires, he works with attachments, and then he goes towards ruin, because the more desires he has, and the more karma he performs, and the more he wants to do this repetitive karma, the more he gets entangled in this web of karma, and without realizing, he gets enmeshed in a series of births and deaths. And then he goes on to say that the one who is wise works in this world with complete non-attachment. Although he puts in his effort, he puts in his time, his energy, his willingness and joyfulness into whatever work he does it to the best of his capability, but is not attached either to the action or to its fruit. And that's the way of the wise. So now we will begin with shloka number 27 of the chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita. And this is how it reads. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma karta miti manyate. संपूर्ण कर्म प्रकृति के गुणों द्वारा उत्पन्न होते हैं। अहम से भ्रमित व्यक्ति सोचता है मैं करता हूं। All action is universally engendered by the attributes or gunas of primordial nature, Prakriti. A man whose self is deluded by egoity thinks, I am the doer. So for all of us who think I am the doer, which I think most of us do, what is the advice? So Krishna is clearly saying that all the actions of this world are actually being done by Prakriti or nature. Now take a moment and to think about the functions of your body. All the processes of your body are not being handled by you, they are being done for you. Your lungs are not asking your permission whether they should breathe in or not, whether the gas exchange should take place or not. Your heart is not asking you whether it should pump blood or not. Similarly, the liver, the digestive system, the pancreas, the kidneys, the urinary system, the locomotor system, the muscles, the bones, none of it is asking you whether it should function in a particular way or not. It is being done for you. Now, this entire, not only the body, do not rest there. Now, think about the thoughts and the emotions as well. Now, emotions are governed by neurotransmitters and biochemical processes, and all those hormones that are raging inside of you are the cause of your mixed emotions. And considering thoughts, we already know that Yogananda ji has said that thoughts are not individually rooted, they are universally rooted. So we are not the originator of thought. We just catch the thoughts from the ether according to our own, frequencies that we attract, our own desires and attachments. We will attract those thoughts. So everything, and of course, all around you, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, all of this, the Pancha Tattva, all of this is being governed by Prakriti. And Prakriti has been created at the command of God. So when the unmanifested spirit or absolute existence creates, it divides itself into God the creator and the Prakriti. So the difference between Purusha and Prakriti start to come in, and then Prakriti is, or the divine mother, is handling this entire creation and including your bodies and your entire systems. So that's why Krishna is now saying that if you think, now the foolish man thinks that I am doing all of these things. Now, this is a very, very important point for us to rethink again and again and again, to detach ourselves from the I-ness of the situation. And Ramana Maharshi would say, inquire into the I-ness. So who am I really? So if you take a moment to ask yourself, okay, what is my mind? So Ramana Maharshi said, mind is nothing but a collection of thoughts. Then he said that the root thought amongst all thoughts is the I thought. When we say, I am this is the root thought. And if by perfect inquiry, you can introspect into yourself and ask, who is this I? Where is the origination of this I? He said that according to Jnana Yoga, this little I is a mirage. It does not exist. It is only a faculty of the mind. So according to Yoga Shastras, the mind or manas is divided into 4 parts. It's man, buddhi, ahamkar, chitta. So ahamkar or the I-ness is only one faculty of this mind, and this mind is part of the cosmic mind. So the I-ness has been implanted as part of the cosmic mind, and then the individual mind. The I-ness, the thought of this I-ness has been planted inside of us. And although there is no separate I, yet it appears to us because we are living in separate bodies and we have developed personalities over lifetimes. Therefore, we start to think that I am this little thing which is functioning like this, and I have these desires and I have these attachments and I have to do all of these things, and I am the doer and I am the experiencer. But a little introspection, a little withdrawal from this activity that is going on the surface will lead you to the fact that there is one intelligence which is actually working through all of these bodies. And of course, over lifetimes, we have developed different bodies and phenotypes and genotypes. Means our DNA is different, our personality traits are different, our attitudes are different, likes and dislikes are different. Of course, that is there. But what is the truth behind all these differences? One should come to this understanding. Okay, so Guruji says, an awakened devotee realizes that all his human qualities are created by God, initiated by his individualized body in the body by the soul, and governed by the attributes of nature. Therefore, he refuses to let his body engrossed ego deem itself the doer of action. So be very clear every time. So what can we do to take ourselves to this higher understanding? Every time you feel too engrossed in this, in the world, immediately, if this thought will come to you, ask yourself, am I really doing this? Or this body-mind complex is functioning? So if you just take that pause and ask yourself, suddenly you will find that you can release yourself from the intensity of involvement. And of course, the intensity of involvement also brings with it fears, worries, anxiety, stress, hurrying. All of that comes when you think, oh, I am the doer, I have to do so many things. But if this thought instead comes that, oh, this is being done, and I am experiencing temporarily through this body mind, and this is only temporary, this is not my permanent nature. So let me do the same work that I am doing, but not with so much of entanglement, with involvement, but not with entanglement. Because entanglement comes in the picture when emotions come in the picture, when I, me, mine comes into the picture, then entanglement comes. But of course, whatever task we are doing, we have to be fully involved. Our attention has to be there and we have to be present there. But how entangled are you in that? So every time you feel stressed up, take a pause and say, am I really the doer? The answer is of course no. And then therefore you can withdraw and then you can do that activity, enjoying the activity. Okay. So the wise man identifies himself with the Atman. He knows that all actions are done through nature, and he therefore stays at the source of all happiness. So he knows he is the Atman. He knows that Atman is the source of all happiness in this world. So he does not associate too much with the objective world. He rather stays with his own subjective consciousness, with his own self, realizing that the work of the universe is being naturally carried out by Prakriti, and it is not in his direct control. Only a very, very tiny fraction of it is in his control. And Krishna will, of course, tell us that how we can manage that part of our being. Okay. So, interestingly, Krishna, Master has said something here. He says, if you want to come to that point where you do realize that you are this pure consciousness and this work is being done, then the simplest way is the Bhakti Marg. And the Bhakti Marg says that think of God before you are acting, think of God while you are acting, and think of God after you have finished acting. And of course, when you are giving all responsibility to God, you're automatically involving Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, if combined, can make it easy for you to realize that not you, but God is doing everything. And once that bhav comes, then of course, automatically your attachment to the fruits of those actions reduces, automatically your entanglement reduces, and automatically your suffering which ensues from this entanglement, that automatically reduces. Okay, so this brings us to shloka number 28. Tattvavittu mahabaho gunna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. हे महाबाहो अर्जुन, गुण विभाग एवं उनके कार्यों के तत्व को जानने वाला यह जानकर कि इंद्रिय रूपी गुण ही विषय रूपी गुणों से जुड़ रहे हैं, स्वयं को उनसे आसक्त नहीं करता. O mighty armed Arjuna, the knower of truth about the division of the gunas and their actions, realizing it is the gunas or sense attributes that are attached to the gunas as sense objects, keeps his self unattached to them. Okay, so it sounds complex, but is not complex. It is only an extension of the previous shloka. So what Krishna is saying here is that the wise person understands that the nature, Prakriti, through its gunas of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas is doing everything. And when this is happening, the wise man who is associated with his Atmic self can easily watch that all the actions happen when his power of his senses gets connected with the object of the senses. So for example, if my eyes are seeing a painting, so the painting is the object of the sense and my eyes are the sense organs and my ability to see is the the power of vision, power of seeing. So basically what is happening is there is one object of the sense, there is the power of seeing in between, and then there is the sense organ. And it is the interaction of these elements that is actually creating the experience that your brain is having. And of course, eventually this brain is also illumined by the pure consciousness or the Atman. So the actual experiencer is God himself, and he is experiencing via the soul through this body-mind instrument, through the working of these sense organs. So, and all the senses, the objects of the senses are also controlled by the gunas. The sense organs are also controlled by the gunas, because the entire Prakriti, entire nature is made up of these three gunas. So everything is subject to these gunas, and a wise man understands that this is the process that is happening. So for example, in Buddhist traditions, the meditations that they do to come to this conclusion is automatically like when they are eating, they will not say, I am eating. They will just mentally watch the process and mentally chant eating, eating, eating. Suppose the food is being tasted, they would say tasting, tasting. Suppose they are sitting in meditation and the breath is coming in and out, they will say breathing in, breathing in, breathing out. So they are simply observing the processes happening in the senses, the mind, the breath, and the body. So just by observing, one detaches oneself. So what happens here? You become the observer, and the processes that are happening become the observed. So the seer and the seen. You, the witness, are the seer, and whatever objects and processes are happening, that is the seen. And in Sanskrit, this is called the drishya. And the discrimination, the ability to separate yourself as the subject, who's the seer, from the objects that and the experiences that are happening, the ability to separate this is called Drik Drishya Viveka, means the discriminative ability to separate the seer from the seen, to know always that you are the seer who is the Atman, who is unaffected by the gunas of nature. And all these processes that are happening are processes of nature, and these are objective. So the subject and the object have to be distilled and separated, and only then can we, rise above the duality of the game of life. The entire world, the creation, is based on duality because it's a waveform. And once you become the seer or the witness, you take yourself to the point of vibrationless absolute existence, a soul, which is part of spirit. And from there, you can see all the movements happening. And this viveka, or this, discrimination or discernment, helps you again to rise above all suffering. Remember, the Gita is a moksha shastra. It wants to free us from all sufferings. It talks about bhakti, it talks about jnana, it talks about karma, it talks about meditation, it tells you become the witness. So it gives different philosophies in one text. All the philosophies of the Upanishads, the Vedas, have been so beautifully brought together by Krishna and given to the ideal devotee or the seeking devotee. The devotee wants to know these things. The devotee wants to know, how do I rise above this suffering I am in? How do I fight the battle of life? Because everywhere I see around, I find myself in the midst of battle. How do I go about it? And with every shloka, Krishna adds on to a little information, a little direction, a little guidance as to how you can do. In every way, he will tell you, that practice this intelligence that you have been given, practice the discernment, practice the loving heart in bhakti, practice the, beautifully, you have been given so many duties, perform them beautifully and diligently. And with all these processes, you will be able to find who you really are, and therefore you will be able to take yourself away from suffering. Okay. So, what Master says here, he says, he who knows his soul to be a true image of the indestructible spirit, and his body and the surrounding world to be clusters of organized atomic and lifetronic energy, is not affected in his spiritual nature. So amazingly, Master here is becoming very, very scientific. Now let us analyze. We were talking about the sense objects, the sense organs, and the act of seeing, let's say, in terms of vision. So what are the sense objects made of? The sense objects are made of atoms, and atoms are made of electrons. And of course, by now we know we have many subatomic particles. Now, what is the sense organ, or let's say eye, is made of? They are also made of electrons and subatomic particles. And don't forget that these atoms and subatomic particles are continuously moving. So whatever is giving you the appearance of a solid object, or even your body which appears to be solid, is actually not solid. It is made up of trillions of electrons, and all those electrons are moving. And Master says that if you can associate yourself to the space that is in between the whirling electrons, then you will know that that space does not move, it does not change. And that part of you, that vibrationless part of you, is the real you. And all the movement that is happening at the bodily physical matter level of the electrons, and all the movement that is happening at the breath or level or prana level of lifetrons, and all the movement is then also happening at the mental level. So many thoughts, invisible thoughts coming in, going out, clashing with each other. And think of all the people, if you were able to somehow see the thoughts of all men present, 8 billion people on the planet. Imagine what jargon you would be able to see if you were able to see those thoughts in their aura. But yes, it is true that all those thoughts are running around in our auras. They are, and Master called them thoughttrons. So think of yourself as that pure, formless space. And then on the background and substratum of that empty space, which is not empty actually. Why? Because it is impregnated with love, it is impregnated with wisdom, it is impregnated with pure awareness. So on that substratum, now you have formations of thoughttrons, lifetrons, and electrons, which appear to you because your sense organs are limited and your seeing capacity is limited. Therefore, you are seeing these temporary objects as, solid. And therefore, you are not able to analyze the complete interaction that is happening because the sense organ is limited. It can see only a limited frequency. And that is why, to know the true self, the senses must be brought under control, because as long as the senses are working, fully working, till then you get only limited data. It is only by quietening the limited senses and awakening your sixth sense that you get an idea that all of this matter is vibrating electrons. Now try to visualize it as a scientific person, that all that you see around is actually a blueprint of moving electrons. It's just a blueprint of energy. And of course, behind the energy is the thought. So once we are able to, scientifically analyze these facts, which are given here so beautifully, we can withdraw ourselves from the, life-changing life everywhere. And we take it so seriously. Remember in the last class, we discussed how Master was saying it is foolish to take all of this drama so seriously, that you make a melodrama out of it, you make a tragedy out of it all the time. It's just moving electrons being projected on the substratum of consciousness. Just like in a movie, you have that light beam and that movie appears so real to us. Now, the movie is only true to our two senses, which is vision and hearing. But right now, we are in the middle. Imagine that we are in the middle of a movie, which is true to five senses. Not only the true to five senses, but also the thoughts can also be controlled. So true to at so many levels. Yet, it is not the ultimate reality. Yet the ultimate reality is formless, yet the ultimate reality is changeless. In the midst of these changing vibrations, ever new life, there is a stable joy. And yet the beauty is that stable joy is ever new, has that character of, giving you more and more bliss if you associate yourself with that. Okay. Master says, since the senses and the objects all spring from the attributes of Prakriti, a man of self-realization does not deem himself the doer of any action and therefore cannot be attached to any ensuing effect. Shloka number 29. प्रकृतेर्गुण सम्मूढा सजन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् कृत्स्नविदो मंदा कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत्. पूर्ण ज्ञान प्राप्त योगी को पूर्ण समझ न रखने वाले लोगों के मनों को विचलित नहीं करना चाहिए. प्रकृति के गुणों से मोहित होकर अज्ञानी जनों को उन गुणों से उत्पन्न कर्मों से आसक्त रहना ही पड़ता है. The yogi of perfect wisdom should not bewilder the minds of men who have imperfect understanding. Deluded by the attributes of primordial nature, the ignorant must cling to the activities engendered by those gunas. So a very important advice for us at the very simple level, this depicts to us that all those who start to, meditate and come on the spiritual path and suddenly start to realize how wonderful it is. And they are so excited that they just want to advertise it to the whole world. They want to tell everybody, why don't you come? Why don't you try this? This is an amazing thing. But the point is, others are not interested. They may not be interested. And also, as we were ending our last class, we were discussing this very important point that even if you have, gained some spiritual knowledge and you have had some wisdom and experience, and you realize to an extent that, yes, this world is like a dream, even then, a person who is fully involved in his, material duties, if you tell such a person that, they don't do anything, this world is a dream. So basically, you are deluding that person. You are misleading that person, because it is only by acting in certain ways that he or she will come to that understanding where he will, want to know the real truth. So you should give that much time and space. You should allow people around you to make mistakes, to have their, own inner calling. And do not impose your knowledge or your understanding or, your experience of meditation with others. Others may not be interested. It's simply like this. There may be a very, very, five-star restaurant, very nice restaurant next to your house. But if you are not hungry, you will never go to it. Similarly, if a person is not thirsty or hungry for spiritual knowledge, for enlightenment, for moksha, till then, even if all the knowledge of the world is available, you are not going to access it. And this is the truth with us. Before we really asked the spiritual questions, before we came to this path in this life, the Gita still existed. The Mahabharata, the Gita, the Bible, the Quran, the Ramayana, the Upanishads, the Vedas, all of them existed. All of them were available to people who were seeking them. But as soon as you yourself start seeking the truth, it is only then that these scriptures suddenly become available to you. You are suddenly interested in them, and then they start to be beneficial to you. So this is how it works. And if you have been brought here by your inner calling and the grace of the Guru, your relatives and your friends and others around you will also be called when it is their right time. And Guruji gives beautiful explanation, to this shloka. He actually tells us why, when to wait, and what to do. He says, illumined beings should not disturb the enactment of material duties by ignorant persons whose redemption lies through this evolutionary stage. Also, remember, we discussed why Karma Yoga is important. Now, we know if we want to achieve Chitta Shuddhi or purity of mind, we have to work in this world. And if there are certain people have different degrees of spiritual advancement. So a person who needs to have a pure mind first has to work, and you cannot tell him, no, you stop all this work and you come and meditate. A person is running a company and his evolution lies there, but you say, no, let's go to a cave and let's meditate. Is he going to be able to meditate? No, not at all. It is not his stage of evolution yet. So don't hurry up other people. Work with yourself first. Now, Master says, this injunction of the Gita does not mean that a saint should not awaken people at all. They should be gradually roused and instructed in higher principles only when they are receptive, when they begin to wonder about the mysteries of life, either as a result of introspective thinking or because of worldly misfortune or material disillusionment. Now, I think most of us have come here because of this reason, because either we have, introspected and thought about life and the higher purpose of life, or we have some people have material misfortune, in the sense when whatever possessions they have, suddenly those are taken away, people are taken away from their life, or money is taken away from their life, and then they are wondering what is this all about. So that that way they come somehow seeking the truth. And there are others who are disillusioned materially, in the sense all that they have tried and tested in this world has not brought them the happiness and fulfillment they were looking for, and now they are seeking the higher truth. So out of any of these reasons which bring suffering and bring the person to ask the question, they will come on the spiritual path, and that is the point when they are receptive, and that is the point where the saint or the Guru arouses them, gradually according to their level of understanding. And here I would say this is a very important point, where, because when you have a Guru, now the Guru is sent by God to you, and the Guru is of course a one who stays with you for lifetimes till you are eternally free. He knows exactly what you need, when you need, in how much dose you need, and what will actually increase your energy and understanding, what kind of obstacles should be put in your path, so that you raise yourself to the challenge and you increase your understanding and energy to override that challenge. The exact amount, time, degree, type of challenge that comes to a disciple's life is determined by the Guru. And it is so important, therefore, to come in tune with the teachings of the Guru. because he is your personal savior in a sense, and nobody understands you like he does. Just like, as Swamiji would say, there are so many mothers, and some mothers may be, you know, more good looking or more successful in many ways, but your mother is your mother. The way your mother can love you, the way your mother understands you, nobody else will understand you. The same is for the Guru. And that's what Guruji, his master, is saying. He's saying the materialist, after having carried the load of material duties without a compensation of true happiness, begins on his own accord thinking of cultivating divine qualities such as equanimity and calmness, and thereby starts a spontaneous introspection. It is at this juncture that wise men should strive to lift him to the higher strata of the good sattva attributes like discernment, meditation, and performance of action without attachment. So I would like to, share my own personal experience here, that, how I turned towards this spiritual journey. And of course, it says that after carrying the load of material duties without a compensation of true happiness. So this is a line which I can really, really relate to. Why? Because there was this time in my life where after having become a doctor, after I was married, after I had kids, and I was, of course, under a load of multiple material duties because my professional requirement is very high. And of course, small children need a lot of attention and time, of course, and you have household chores as well. So every minute of my life was counted in a way. And I was so busy with all these material duties that multiple questions started to come into my mind, where I was, I was asking myself, why does my heart still feel empty? Why what is it that is still missing? Intellectually speaking, and speaking from a worldly point of view, I am doing everything that one can do or one should do, and having a kind of ideal worldly life. Then what is it that is missing? Besides that, I would have these questions of why there is suffering, why there is so much discrepancy in the world, and why, who is really controlling life and death, and so on. All these questions were just bombarding me. And it is true, so true for me that, and I would read multiple books as well. And then one day at a bookstore, I spotted Yoganandaji's book, Journey to Self-Realization. And of course, that was the point. That was the point of contact where the Guru came into my life, understanding that at that point I was completely receptive. I wanted to learn the truth, and I was a deep seeker. I was also a devotee, of course. I loved God throughout. From childhood, I like to go to temples and so on. But that was the point. And for all of us, that point has come. And it is at this point that, of course, the Guru first sends books, and then he himself, comes in the form of teachings and techniques, and then Guru Bhais, and you have company, and all of that comes in your life. And this is the time, therefore. Now, at this time, do not, once you do start your meditative practice and you do start on your spiritual journey, and you start to feel that, yes, things are happening and you can meditate to some extent, do not dilute your initial yearning at this point. Now, what happens most of the times is that when your life starts to get, peaceful again, and some harmony comes in, and you do have some meditative practice, you think, oh, I'm doing good, my life appears peaceful, and that's fine. Always at this point, remember what was the initial difficulty or challenge or suffering or inner calling that brought you to the spiritual path, and reawaken and rekindle your yearning from there. Do not be diluted. Do not get softened here. Your striving should be ever increasing. If we want to be Jivan Muktas in this life, then our striving must be ever increasing. It must be exponential. It must increase day by day. And we have to become those race horses that Master wants us to become. And thereby we will reach the goal of self-realization in this life itself. Okay. Then Guruji says, true devotees, okay, well, just give me a second. Yes. Okay. So before we go into further detail, let me just read out shloka number 30. This is a beautiful shloka. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva viggatajvara. सब कार्यों को मुझ पर अर्पण करो, अहम भाव एवं आसक्ति का त्याग करो, अपनी आत्मा पर ध्यान केंद्रित करके संताप रहित होकर कर्म के युद्ध में संलग्न हो जाओ। Krishna says to Arjuna, relinquish all activities unto me, devoid of egotism and expectation, with your attention concentrated on the soul, free from feverish worry, be engaged in the battle of activity. So, this is one of the verses which is a promise of the Lord Himself. Multiple words are important here. He says, firstly, relinquish all activities unto me. So the surrender comes in. Ishvara Pranidhan, as it is said in Hindi or Sanskrit, means surrendering your life to God, surrendering your actions to God. Why should you surrender? Because He is the doer. You are only falsely thinking that I am the doer. Once you are relinquishing these, then further He has advice. He says, devoid of egotism and expectation. So remove the thought of I, me, mine, the doership from yourself, and remove any expectation or attachment to a specific fruit of action. Be concentrated on the soul. So from your centered self, from your atmic self, from there, without feverish worry, be engaged in the battle for activity. So of course, the word fever, the jwar, means actually it heats up your body. Once you're in stress, once you're worried, once you're fearful, once you're all of those emotions come into your work, the things that we call entanglement, once that comes in, there is actually a mental fever that we go through, and even the physical bodies can warm up because of that. So this is a feverish worry. A feverish worry is like that fire who will burn you alive. So make sure that if we are to follow this shloka alone, let us say if we were to pick up one shloka from the Gita, and it can easily be this one, and all the advice has been given, the staying with the atman has been given, surrendering everything to God has been given, leaving away expectation, egotism has been given. Once if we are able to perform this shloka, follow or make it alive in a life, then automatically we will be free from all suffering, and we will automatically be taken to moksha. So let us understand what Guruji says about this. He says, true devotees feel that since God created them, He alone is responsible for all their activities. They work for God without worrying, knowing it is He who is working through their soul faculties, as sensed in the depths of calm meditation. So we are all to check within ourselves. Are we working with feverish worry, or are we working for God without worrying, understanding that God has created us, that God is mainly responsible for all the activities, and we are playing as His instrument. So of course we give our willing cooperation to whatever work is happening, but always recognizing the ultimate truth that God is the doer. Says, then Guruji also says that the yogi who is practicing meditation, he relinquishes his egotism and expectation not only in his material duties. This is true for all of us. So not only in your material duties, but also in your spiritual activities, you are to renounce egotism and expectation. So do not sit with the thought in meditation that, oh, today God must come to me, and God must come to me in this way, or I must hear the sound of Om, I must be able to see the star of the spiritual eye, and so on and so forth. So without a specific expectation, do your job. And there is this beautiful, thought that I heard a monk saying. He said that what you can do is, what we can do is every day regularly sit for meditation. But how deep we will go in that meditation is not always possible for us to determine. So this can be our prayer to Guruji, that Guruji, regularity in meditation is my responsibility, but please take the responsibility of the depths that I achieve in meditation. So at least all I can do is put myself on the chair or on the cushion on the floor and start to meditate. What happens next? I neither think of it as, I am doing this, nor do I expect a specific experience in meditation. Once I can renounce that, then what happens? When my meditation will become beautiful automatically, because I'm not expecting anything in return. Automatically the peace of meditation will come to me. And automatically I will be in a position of gratitude, because I will know that everything, all the experiences that I'm having in meditation have been given to me by God and the Guru. Therefore, I'm always in gratitude. I'm always peaceful, and I'm not expecting anything. And automatically, if you are persistent, you will find that your levels of concentration will increase, your experiences in meditation will increase. That happens automatically, but you have to not cling and crave to specific experience in meditation. Just give it your best shot and trust God. Why? Because Krishna is clearly saying, relinquish all activities unto me. Now, are we good listeners? Are we good children who will obey this command? Or are we going to just still be in egoity and say, no, no, I am the doer, I will take care, and I keep forgetting that what is the truth behind all of these actions happening? So this we have to introspect and check within ourselves. And moment to moment, this has to be checked. It's not like after, many days, I think, oh, I am not the doer, God is the doer. No, moment to moment, because we have been conditioned ever since we are born in the bodies. We are conditioned to think that I am the doer. We have to uncondition ourselves. And that means moment to moment remembrance of the truth. And how will we able to achieve that? What Master said, think of God before every action, think of God during every action, think of God after you finish your action. Once you do that, automatically the doership of God will be established, and you will be automatically set free from all karma at the same time. Why? Because till now you were thinking, I am the doer and all karma belong to you. But as soon as you know that God is the doer, then no karma is yours. And that sets you free immediately, right away. Okay. So Master then clarifies this. Okay, he says, the Lord does not ask man to be without divine ambition, divine desires, or divine activities that lead to liberation, but rather to stop working under the influence of the manipulative ego, which casts the soul again and again endlessly into pits of reincarnation. So basically, the devotee surrenders everything to God and lives free, starting now. All of this freedom starts now with all of us if we keep remembering this truth, and if we keep surrendering moment to moment all our activities and all our thoughts and emotions also. Offer them to God. And if we are having difficult emotions and negative thoughts, offer those as well to God. Because eventually he is the doer. He is happy to help you. It's just like, think of yourself as a parent and think of your child. Now the child is getting into trouble, but he is not telling you that he is getting into trouble, although you can see. But wouldn't it be so nice if the child, when getting into trouble, seeks the advice of the parent, or confides in the parent that, oh mommy, oh daddy, I'm doing this and I think this is wrong. Please, can you help me get out of this? This is the similar situation with God, the parent, and we, the children. The sooner we contact God through prayer, through meditation, and discuss our worries, anxieties, and fears, our emotions and thoughts, and our activities, everything with God, the parent, the easier our life will be, the less entangled our life will be. And the freer we will be in this life, the happier shall we be. Okay. This brings us to the next shloka, which is shloka number 31. Ye me matamidam nityamanutishthanti manava shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante api karmabhi. जो श्रद्धा युक्त मनुष्य दोष दृष्टि से रहित होकर मेरी शिक्षाओं का निरंतर अभ्यास करते हैं, वे भी संपूर्ण कर्म से मुक्त हो जाते हैं. Another promise from Sri Krishna. He says, men devotion filled who ceaselessly practice my precepts without fault finding, they too become free from all karma. Beautiful. So what do we have in this shloka? This is for all of us. So not only is he saying surrender everything to me, work without egotism and expectation, and of course he has given all the teachings in the previous shlokas telling us that we are the atman, and he is telling us that our right is to action alone, not to the fruits of action. He has already given so many teachings to us so far, and now he is saying if without fault finding you follow my precepts, then also you shall be free from karma. And what had he said earlier? That if you associate yourself with the atmic nature from to the real self, know that you are the real self, then automatically you will be freed from karma. So again, earlier Jnana Yoga had been mentioned, now Karma Yoga is directly mentioning. So for all of us, this stands so true. Master says that if we follow the prescribed sadhana with right attitude, then freedom is guaranteed to us. Full devotion helps to instill greater effort. It quickens his spiritual pace and clarifies his vision of the spiritual summit. Instead of finding fault with the guru or the path, a devotee's analytical power should be used out in finding his own psychological blemishes. So here, the doha of Kabir Das, which we have all heard from childhood, but which we do not apply. बुरा जो देखन मैं चला, बुरा ना मिलिया कोई, जो दिल देखा आपना, मुझसे बुरा ना कोई. So, this does not mean that we keep picking up our faults and feeling guilty for it. No, it means that instead of looking at others and finding their faults, it is better to look at your own self, introspect your own thoughts, emotions, and attitudes, and correct them. And do not keep finding fault with the spiritual path, with scriptures, or with guru. Instead of that, clean your own house, sweep your own house, make your mind pure by performing karma yoga, make your heart pure by giving love to others and to God. Introspect into yourself through the act of meditation. Pause your activities and contemplate on the highest. Then Guruji says, to get to God, the devotee should listen to a true guru who is able to supply a time-proven technique such as Kriya Yoga, and with full devotion and uncritical spirit should follow him and practice the method. When the devotee adopts the right course and follows it with the right attitude, the entanglements of good and bad karma will be gradually destroyed and final freedom achieved. If you are a student of self-realization, which we all are, of course, then with full devotion, practice Kriya Yoga. And the increased life force coursing towards your brain will cauterize all the seeds of reincarnation making good and bad karmas in the cerebrum and in the subconscious mind. The true guru teaches the disciple to open his inner eye of all-knowing soul intuition. The devotee who gives to that master and his teaching the devotion and loyalty referred to in this Gita verse is thereby assured salvation. So again, Master now points out that Jnana Yoga, yes, will take you to salvation. Karma Yoga, yes, will take you to salvation. But following the precepts of God given to you by the agency of the Guru will also free you. And he says, if you are a Kriya Yogi, then all seeds of past bad karma and good karma, because even good karma will create reincarnation. So all seeds of karma can be roasted into the fires of wisdom. All the past grooves in your mental faculty can be erased, and the light of the Atman can shine there by following the precepts of a guru. We now come to shloka number 32. Ye tvedabha, ye tvedid, sorry. Ye tvedabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudastan vidhi nashtana chetasa. Parantu, जो मेरी इस शिक्षा की भर्त्सना करते हैं और इसके अनुसार जीवन नहीं बिताते, वे सच्चे ज्ञान के अर्थ में पूर्ण रूप से भ्रमित हैं। उन्हें समझ से रहित नष्ट होता जान। Meaning, this is a heavy verse on the negative side, which tells us what happens to ignorant people. He says, but those who denounce this teaching of mine and do not live according to it, wholly deluded in regard to true wisdom, know them devoid of understanding to be doomed. Okay. So here is talking, Krishna is saying that all people are ignorant, but those who follow these precepts which lead to wisdom are taken to salvation. But those who ignore, those who find fault, those who do not follow all these precepts and come to wisdom, their life is, earlier he said it is in vain. Now he is saying they are doomed. What does it mean when he says they are doomed? Means they will have to live in suffering and misery for a long period of time until they themselves bring themselves to the point where they ask the right question, where they seek the right truth, and where they offer themselves away from egotism and expectation at the feet of the Lord. So it is going to be a long, arduous journey for them. That is why he is saying doomed. Of course, all souls are children of God, and he is considered, he is a parent to them. He loves all of them, and he will eventually bring all souls back to himself. But he is saying here that if you follow these precepts, you will come home quickly. And if you do not follow these precepts, then you are doomed to more suffering. A very interesting point here is that there are different levels at which these people are ignorant. They are deluded. So people who do not have any spiritual inclinations have predominantly tamasic and rajasic natures, and they are totally involved in this world. The first level of delusion or confusion they have is the difference between right and wrong. So such a person would say, if I'm getting pleasure out of eating this good food, why shouldn't I? If I'm getting pleasure from seeing all these movies and this theoretical performance and all of this, indulging all my time, why shouldn't I? It doesn't matter to me if I have an exam to give, but right now I want to have a pleasing experience. I want to just be with friends and indulge myself in sensual pleasure. So basically, the problem with them is they are looking for instant gratification, and they do not realize that if they control themselves right now in longer rhythms, they will get a happiness, a success that is more longer lasting. So they are completely deluded in the present moment regarding right and wrong duties. The second level of delusion or confusion that comes to them is the difference between temporary and permanent. So now, of course, theoretically, all of us have read that this life is temporary, the soul is permanent. Because this life is temporary, we cannot take anything with us after we die. And many people will give these wise words of wisdom, but is their behavior in sync with these words? So a person who is a businessman who's holding a lot of money will say, oh, I understand life is temporary and none of this is going to go with me. But simultaneously, he does all those actions in which he is amassing wealth, he is hoarding wealth, he is doing all the wrong karma to like cutting corners or lying to people or stealing from others just to hoard more and more wealth. So it is not just necessary that you theoretically know these truths. You have to start applying these truths in your life. You have to really come to the realization that life is indeed temporary. We do not even know whether we are going to get up in tomorrow morning or not. We do not even know if the next breath will come or not. That's how much life is impermanent. And if it is impermanent, and what is the real thing or the treasure that will actually go with me when I leave this body? Should I not concentrate my life energies into gathering that treasure? And that treasure is simply soul wisdom, my understanding that I am that one self. So self-realization is the ultimate treasure that will take you away from all suffering. But people are confused between temporary and permanent, and many of us are to different degrees. We are entangled in this web where the changing scenes of life become so important to us that we forget that we are the soul, we are away from all this, and then flowing along with those waves, we are doing what the world is doing. The rat race is happening, we're also participating in the rat race. But when the guru comes in your life, when you are seeking self-realization in God, then it is important that you pause and introspect and ask yourself, why am I doing what I am doing? and then change the course of your life or the direction of your life according to your final goal. What is it that you really want? And we all want self-realization. Then work for that. The third level of confusion, which is for all of us actually, this is a delusion which catches all of us, and this we are unable to differentiate between the real and the unreal. And what is that difference now? For most of us, for all of us, I would say, this world appears to be a reality. All the things happening around me appear to be real to me. But what is the yogi status? What is the status of the enlightened person? The enlightened person clearly knows that this is unreal dream drama, a projection from the consciousness into the cosmic mind. These are only dream pictures. The enlightened one knows this is a movement of electrons, thoughtrons, lifetrons, which is creating the effect of a solid appearing or a liquid appearing as a real movie. So the reality is that all of that this is one consciousness. And the unreality is that this is a dream, but to us, it appears to be reverse. Brahman is not clear to us. The one God, the one consciousness is not clear to us. But this unreal world, which the Shastra says unreal, God says unreal, Guru says unreal, we think of it as real. So this is a level of confusion. This has to be removed. And how will we remove ourselves from this level of confusion? Is mainly by meditation. How by meditation? When we sit still in meditation, when we quieten the movement of thoughttrons, the thoughts, when we quieten the movement of prana or breath, of course, the electronic movement will continue in the body. But if we are able to silence our breath and our mind, suddenly we will be able to realize the dream nature of this world, that we exist as pure stillness, as pure consciousness and awareness behind this drama. And that this consciousness within me is continuous with the consciousness of entire creation. So by meditation, why Kriya Yoga is the fastest route to God? Why Guruji says it is the airplane route to God? Because it helps you to quieten your mind, quieten the breath, quieten the senses, thereby awakening your sixth sense, and thereby realizing who you really are, that you are made of God's bliss, you are made in the image of God. And nothing that happens over it, the superimposition of electronic movement or thoughttrons, cannot distort this image that you really are. One with God always. We are made of God. We are one with God always, all the time, everywhere. The Guru comes in our life to help us to realize this truth. So may we be able to attune our actions and our thoughts to the Guru's consciousness, that we realize this truth very, very quickly in this life. With this thought, dear friends, I will end today's class, and we will send out healing energy, prayers, our love, our joy, and the wisdom that we have received with soul friends everywhere. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, beloved Krishna, thou art omnipresent, thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Om. 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 Divine Mother, beloved Krishna, great Gurus, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.